Hi everyone, we are live here on the Journey with Jen Snow, and I just want to take a moment to say thank you for being here and welcome. So today we have a special guest, Jenny Adams, is with us today. Jenny Adams is one of those people, one of those souls that I adore, and I just was so excited that you agreed to do this because I actually know that look. I totally know that look. Like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? That was my look for months when I started this podcast journey with Shipwreck. So, it's crazy. So, welcome, Jenny. How are you? What's happening? What's going on?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, I love your background, girl. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Is this your office at home?
This is my Sadie shrine at home.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. So we'll touch on Sadie because I know how much she's been an intricate part of your journey and moving forward and kind of poking her mom in so many different ways. So
ain't that the truth?
Yeah. I could just hear out there like, finally, people. I'm
pretty much
finally listening. I know. I got this sparkle thing happening in my head, just like this little like fairy sparkle, fairy dust happening all around you. It's pretty awesome. So, welcome, Sadie. Join us. So, try not to mess with the electronics too much. I don't know about you, but when spirit comes in, my electronics go insane. Like,
yes, I agree.
Blackouts happen, flashing lights, the computer screen. You know what? The only thing I really know is kind of like, come on, guys, is the internet. I don't know which one comes in. It's like, oh, look, this is the internet today.
That's so funny. I just got new Wi-Fi, so hopefully it's a little bit stronger now.
Oh, what did you get? Hopefully.
I'm not really sure. Some blue stream thingy.
Shaw. Totally.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah. My parents have. Oh, we have that one on the coast,
and it's like good. The white tubey thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You're good. You should be good. No. Okay. So in the mountains, we have like the lamest internet connection. You do not have fiber optics whatsoever. Like we have the old school. Barely enough to upload, barely enough to download. It's like one of those things that happens. So today, I'm hoping that you are ready because, I want you to tell us a little bit about what you do. What do you do, Jenny? Like what, and then where are you now? And then I want to move back to the journey to get you to this point. So tell us about you.
Okay, so my name is Jenny. My business is called Jenny Rooted Goddess. I am a spiritual wellness coach. I help women really reconnect back to themselves. Women who are feeling maybe disconnected from themselves, women who want more for their life, or just like they just feel like they're missing something in their life. I help women and guide them through embodiment practices, meditations where they connect with their higher self, where they can receive their own guidance. Because what works for me, what works for you will not work for everybody. And it's my goal that they can really just, again, connect on that soul level, receive their own guidance for what they need in their life. And that's what I do. And I also study Ayurveda. So that's in like one of my VIP packages is Ayurveda. And Ayurveda for me has been extremely life-changing. It's really a mind, body, soul empowerment connection, again, brings you back into really just feeling and connecting with your body. I had never connected with my body so intimately than I have until I started practicing Ayurveda.
Can you explain Ayurveda a little bit more? Like, can you break that down?
Yes. So everything and everyone is made up of 5 different elements. So for me, I'm very fiery, but I'm also can be very airy, which is like I'm a lot in my head, but I'm also like a real go-getter. I love learning. I love taking in new things. But catch me on an off day, and if I've acquired too much pitta in my body, I am grumpy. They're like, whoa, what's wrong with Jenny? Or I can get like really hot, or maybe like vata is really bringing in like if you're learning a lot, taking a lot of time on your computer, if you're have a lot of anxiety, you're a lot in your head, like head in the clouds kind of thing, right? So then I would like really need to get down and grounded. And then we also have kapha. So I tend to go out of balance in kapha. And
Kapha.
that is more of like earth and water. So like sticky mud. And because I am a high pitta, which means I love learning, I take in a lot of air and ether. That's the vata elements. And I find myself always like in my head and bringing stuff in. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm way floating in the sky. I need to ground myself. So instead of like physically going out to the field or connecting myself to the earth, I like eat food. So then like sometimes my sources of grounding are eating. So if you find that you're eating a lot of food and you're not really hungry, you probably have a vata imbalance too.
So when you talk about the different elements, now I love elemental healing. It is like one of my biggest jams that I actually never talk about because it's just something that always comes up. I'm like, here we go. Can you break down the different elements and what they mean to you in your Ayurveda?
Yeah. So vata is like the king of all doshas. So they are air and ether, right? So I always associate vata as like a Oldsmobile car. Okay. So think of this big, long Oldsmobile car. They got lots of space in there, right? But you'll need to heat that thing up because it always runs cold because there's just so much to go on in there, right? So you got to heat that thing up, but it's just variable. It's always all over the place. You don't really know what you're going to get. You don't know what your gas mileage is going to be like, and you might burn up something way faster. So you're kind of like always running on like almost like fumes, you know?
Yeah.
So I always think as vata as like an Oldsmobile car. So pitta, who I'm like, is fire and water. So I always think of that as like a Mustang. And they're just like, they'll just give it on the hottest day in the summer, but they can only go for so long until they start burning up, right? So just think like you'll be so hot and you're burning up all your reserves, and it's just like you'll overheat. And so it's best to like only drive like a Mustang, maybe on like some nice
like
fall days, you know, like you don't want to like you would never drive a Mustang in the 104 degrees, you know. Well, maybe if you're top down, but like
like a cheetah. You got your 60 seconds, right? Where you
yes,
and then
yes,
like,
it's not like a daily driver. You want to just keep going and going and going, right?
Oh my God.
And then kapha, I always think of, so they are earth and water, and I always think of them as like a diesel truck. So, excuse me, every time I burp, I feel like just like spirits coming through.
You're clearing a lot right now.
Yeah.
This is you when you're like, this is your, because I know how nervous you are. So this is all that feel coming out, girl. You got it. See, I told you I had your back.
Exactly. Thanks, Jen. And then, so kapha to me is like a diesel truck. You got to heat it up. There's a lot of extra gunk. There's always like extra, right? Like they're usually like in person, they're like the people who are a little bit more like full. They have like big juicy lips, like beautiful hair, like beautiful curves on their body, but they also have like a lot of extra stuff. Like they'll make extra water, so they might retain more water. They might have like get dandruff. Like they just have to burn off all the extras that they they produce. So they have to like really be mindful of moving their bodies and what they're eating.
I have a weird, random question. So when the people in the kapha space, where they really have to be mindful of their movement of body, do you find that there's like certain like thyroid issues that go along with that? Like,
Yeah, they usually have like thyroid issues. They have edema. They have swelling. Like diabetes. All like the, not that other doshas can't get those kind of things, but usually it is that because their metabolism's slow. Like it's like everything's always got like a traffic jam. Do you know what I mean? So like their food takes so long to burn off because like everyone's just going around the roundabout and going so slow. And like the vata, who has just got this old Oldsmobile, they burn stuff so fast. And then sometimes they're slow because they're variable. And then pitta, they can just like burn through stuff so fast. But yeah, pitta or kapha, sorry, very slow.
Now,
like a turtle.
Hey, I live on what, like a turtle mountain here. I'm like, we have turtles. So when you find like, does your birth month, like your element that you're born into, does it have a lot to do with your Ayurveda, like where you line up? Like when I see elements in sessions, I always see it as a compass, right? And we have our north, south, west, and east, and that compass shifts into their, the way they work with the different elements.
It definitely would.
It looks like a compass. So I'm curious.
It does, because like right now in the fall, we're in Vata time in life. So you can tell because everything's dry, it's windy, the leaves are falling. So Vata time. So if you're born in the fall, you're Vata, right? And then Kapha is more springtime, wet and muddy, right? You can feel that. And then summer is Pitta. But then there's also different phases during the day that are Vata, Pitta, Kapha.
Okay, so, well, what's winter? Because I was born in winter, so now I need to know. Like, I'm January.
Winter, baby. Okay, so Vata is like, okay, hold on. It's kind of hard to explain because there's 4 seasons and 3 doshas, right?
Okay,
so the when you're in summertime, like for me, I'm very hot. I sweat like a ton. And you're accumulating Vata because you're kind of going out of balance. Like I always think of like in my head when I'm thinking that I'm overheating, I see a pot with hot water and it's evaporating like at a fast rate, right? So here's my pot of water going through summer. It's already like depleting. Then we get into fall and now it's windy and it's cold and it's dry. So it's like blowing whatever scraps of water that I have left, and it's kind of making the pot dry in certain areas. So I'm out of balance in that. And then as it slowly rounds into winter and spring, and then I'm starting to accumulate more kapha because I'm cold and I'm dry. So I'm going to start putting weight on. I'm starting to eat more food so that I can build my bulk up. And then we're going to go into springtime where then the allergies come. So kapha is very wet. So hence why we get allergies and a lot of mucus and congestion in the springtime. So then we're accumulating kapha all the way up. And then it kind of like goes back into summertime when we kind of burn it off. So then you can kind of see the flow of how our bodies go. Like we're like thinner, we put on a little bit of weight in the winter time. And it's like, it's for vital necessity, right? Because we're following the winter months. Just because sometimes we come in and we have our air conditioner on the summer, if we were actually outside in the nature, you could see how it really plays into that.
It's funny you talk about that because it's exactly how my system like flows. Even with the sun, the shorter days, I notice that my body really responds to the cycle of the sun. And when it, longer days, I want to be up more, but when it gets like darker earlier, like it's bad. It's 5 o'clock. I'm like, it's bedtime, right? No, it's 5 o'clock. It is not bedtime. You're still working. But But I have that fight every winter with myself because I want to hibernate. I want to be like.
But that's your innateness inside you to do that.
Exactly. And how, I noticed too, my diet changes.
Yeah.
Big time based on where we are in our cycle.
Yeah. You probably end up eating a lot more stews, and you just naturally want to eat warm, wet, grounding food.
I'm eating way more protein than I usually eat throughout the year. And I was actually thinking about this before the show today. I'm like, something is shifting that I'm now craving protein. Like, I can eat vegetables and I could be a vegetarian so easily, but lately it's been like this protein kick, and I've noticed the difference in my body responding actually in a great way. So I'm gonna say, sit with the whole diet thing when it comes to this. It's very interesting.
And if you don't want to change much about your diet, the one thing that you should always try to do is eat what's in season in your area, because your body will naturally be able to, again, digest, because you are acclimatized for that. And that's like, if we were back in the olden days, we'd be eating potatoes right now, some pumpkin, squash, those kind of things. We wouldn't be having bananas or strawberries.
Not on the list?
No. So it's like, I do try my best to limit things that I know are best for certain.
But they're different too. The nutrients in those, I find, strawberries don't taste the same in winter. I don't care what anybody says. They don't taste the same.
Same with watermelon.
It's just, there's something a little lackluster about it. In my opinion, I might be wrong, so come for me, but it's kind of how I agree. Like, different foods taste more enriching when you based on your season. So the Ayurveda, when you link this to your spiritual coaching practice and wellness practice, how does that work for you? How do you bring this information, and how does this help people evolve and discover who they are and unlock?
And I think I have to always go back to myself on this. I did not have a connection with myself until I realized the connection with everything around me. Like, even eating simply was just either to lose weight or some sort of control. It was never about nourishing my body. It was never about feeding the cells. It was never about that. Working out. When I worked out, again, it was sometimes for my mental health, because I knew it was helpful for my mental health, but mostly it was to lose weight or be skinny. Never did I work out because I knew if I sweat, I'm cleansing my blood. If I am doing weight-bearing exercises, it's strengthening my bones and my muscles and helping me grow. And it's like, again, think of yourself like that truck. When you're turning that truck on, you're doing your workouts, you're sweating, you're burning, you are clearing the toxins out of your body. So if we're not moving our body, those things are sitting in us. And then we get disease. Our body tells us subtly sometimes, usually it starts in your digestion. Could be gas, bloating, diarrhea, heartburn, indigestion. Those are signs that something's wrong. Like, whatever I'm eating, whatever I'm taking in, mentally, physically, all through our five senses, it's not in alignment with my body right now. Not that it won't always be, but even the best things can be overdone sometimes, right? But
when I was going on that journey when I started shifting my diet for my kidney health, because that was the intuitive side of me coming forward, I went to full vegetarian. It took me a while to have bacon. People, I know bacon is just, the smell of it gets me. But so it took me a while. I could give up every other meat, animal product without thinking twice about it. Bacon took me a couple months to wean myself off of it, but I didn't eat it very much. But I noticed that that intuitive guidance with myself to go vegetarian was basically my reset time. But now things are changing big time with me. Like, I am in a different space now, and I noticed that my body is taking on different animal proteins. Like, beef and I are probably never going to be friends. We've never been friends, even as a kid. Like, that was just something, but definitely seeing some different changes in the seasons of this journey as we go forward. So it's very interesting you say that, because it's for me, it's been very true.
Yeah.
Not everything, peppers and stuff like that, like things I love, vegetarian, when I'm on a vegetarian diet, don't always work with me all the time.
Yeah.
I had this crazy, I saw this and I looked into, not on TikTok, so I researched it a little bit, but somebody once said that when you're eating something, your nose starts to sniffle or you start to sweat, it's an indication that you're actually having an antihistamine reaction to what you're eating.
I think I've heard that.
And it is true. It is one of the beginning indicators that maybe you have a sensitivity to something you're eating. And it's funny, I cut some of that stuff out, and sure thing, next time I had that salad and I didn't have that vegetable in there, I didn't have the same reaction, or I changed the salad dressing. So little things, like you said, little indicators can.
Yeah, and they're just subtle. And it's just that learning to connect and trust that what your body is telling you, and it's true for you, right? And listening is the big thing, because sometimes we don't trust ourselves or listen. And what do they call it? I forget what they say, but it's like knowing what's the right thing to do and doing something otherwise.
And if you were me in the journey, I did everything. Make a wish, guys. There's a divine message in that. If you're like me, I did everything wrong the first time or second time and third time around. It's just me. You know what? I used to learn the hard way, and apparently that was my jam, and now it's not. I better give up that piece.
I think that's for most people.
Well, you just get that rock bottom, right? Like you have to get to that place where we have no other options, where we actually, and that's okay. It's perfect because it gets us going in the right direction. So
I agree.
Question: you're here. You're in the spiritual coaching. You're creating wellness and helping guide people because you have found and discovered your path in that journey. And at this point, but tell us about, how did you get here?
How did I get here? Oh my goodness gracious. Well, first of all, I just have to say, Mrs. Jen Snow, every pivotal moment that I have in my life, she is connected to. So just that, like every time, she's like a secret angel or something. Like every time something changes, I just gone and seen her. So I had my beautiful daughter, Sadie Stromquist. She's I don't know where to move. She's right there. I don't know if you can see her. Cutie there.
Beautiful soul I've ever met, guys.
Yes.
Small thing, small package with a punch like nobody understands.
Oh, I agree.
This girl had it all.
I had her in January 2019, and 2 weeks after she was born, she was diagnosed with a rare brain disease called Miller-Dieker syndrome, or lissencephaly, which was caused by the Miller-Dieker syndrome. So what that is her brain was completely smooth. She had no folds, nothing. And she pretty much just had her brainstem. That's like where most of her abilities came from. So at first she could do the sucking action and breathe and all that kind of stuff. But eventually she no longer could eat. So she ended up getting a G-tube. And so I don't know how to go about this. So yeah. So once I got her diagnosis, it was a palliative care diagnosis, and she was given 2 years to live. So during that time, it was really hard at first, knowing that your child is going to be like severely disabled, and they bring you into this big round room, and they're like, she's not going to walk. She's not going to talk. She's not going to smile. She's not going to sit up. She's going to be like your forever baby, pretty much. And it was really like a pivotal moment for me, because honestly, I couldn't even fathom my child being in a wheelchair. Like, it was like, oh my gosh, this is not a life. Like, you know how they say like, oh, they'll be bed bound their whole life. It was just, I couldn't even get past it. And my mom called me one day, and it always just makes me tear up. And she's like, Jenny, she may not be able to do all this stuff, but I heard tonight that she still has a soul. So we have to love that soul. And that soul can still hear, see, feel, know. Just because her physical body couldn't, her soul self could. So I always cry. So at that moment, I was like, you're right, Mom. Like, we're going to love on this girl. Like, there's nobody's business. So literally that was changed my trajectory. I went and I took my Reiki so I could give her some love and some healing along the way. And closer to the end, she was really suffering. She had seizures, and they were getting so bad at the end. And your brain and your gut have this connection that is like vital for life.
It is
And
that flow of intelligence.
yeah,
back and forth.
exactly. And this back in May, she passed in June. So in May, she started with like kind of like she already had problems with swallowing. Like, so all her food was through a G tube, and something was off. And the next day, she just kept having seizure after seizure after seizure. She had probably hundreds of seizures that day, and they just wouldn't stop. So we gave her rescue meds. We went to the hospital, and this was probably like we were at the hospital every 2 weeks for a week because she was always needing extra support. And her numbers on her chart just looked funny. They were off that day. And I knew in my heart, I was like, she's not coming back here ever again. And I signed all the DNR paperwork and did all that stuff on that day in May. And I also had, her name is Sarah. She's like an angel shaker, she calls herself. I had a message or a video chat with her, and she walked me through this meditation where I took Sadie's hand, and she guided me up to heaven and met Jesus and all my family, and gave her over and just was like, it's okay, you can go now. Thank you. And I just felt so ready to not have her suffer anymore because she wasn't getting any better. And I knew that there was things I could possibly do to keep her around for a little bit longer, but I just felt like that was very selfish of me. So after that, we did make it out, and everything was fine. So that was in like May 18th or something like that. Closer to the middle of June, she started again having issues with eating, and she just kept having seizure after seizure. Like, you couldn't even give her like one meal of food, and she would just seize for hours after. So I talked to, because we were part of Canuck Place, and we made the choice to just stop all fluids and everything. And I started doing that meditation with her over and over and over again. And I played, I always say her name wrong, Jai Jagish or something. These beautiful meditations were just playing 24/7. And I did these meditations with her. And it was funny because each time I did the meditation, more and more loved ones were waiting for her.
Showing up. And it's so true, right? Like,
and every time it's just like, oh my God, there's somebody else. Oh my gosh, there's somebody else. And they just were like this lineup of souls waiting for her. And she did eventually pass at home. And I want to say I was okay after she passed. Like, I felt this sense of not relief, but almost like she's not suffering anymore, and she's changed my life so much already. Like, thank you for doing that for me. And I continued to do my meditations. And then I started seeing more and more people, and more people, and more people. And I was like, what the actual heck is going on? And I was like,
open.
yes, I'm like, am I like seeing dead people now? And for people who don't see dead people, it's not, for me anyways, it is nothing like the TV shows. For me, they're not walking around like zombies, or they're just like, maybe
they're not
some
zombies,
people are,
they're walking around.
yes, but they're not like, they look like beautiful people. And I was able to connect to Sadie all the time, and she was just like, I'm okay, and she was just with me. And I do feel like if I was a hot mess after she passed, I wouldn't have found that connection. Mind you, 6 months later, I was a complete hot mess, but I feel like I needed that time to integrate that download, because when she passed, like, I felt it. Like, it was like a magnet pulling her soul, like, literally. Like, if you've ever held two magnets together and you feel that pull, that's what it felt like when she took her last breath.
And it gets bigger, and like the love and peace that is there. I don't know about you, but for me, when I've experienced that with
it was nuts.
It's unreal how it is a beautiful experience in an unbeautiful moment.
Yes.
Like, at least that's how I've always looked at it, because I've always had peace during, but you know, and after the human emotions to connect in that
exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm like, my soul self was like, this, I'm so great, and I can still be a part of her everyday life. But my human self was like, what the heck just happened? And I did end up take up mediumship classes, and really practiced into that, and was taking clients, and it was actually really successful. I was, I felt like a really amazing gift. And then I just started grieving. And honestly, I was grieving for a solid year. Like, I barely left my house. I didn't see anybody. I just had to just feel it. And that's where the Ayurveda and the self-coaching came in. Is I never wanted to feel my pain before, and I didn't know how to. So I started creating these tools from the certain modalities that I had been learning, and start cultivating these new parts of myself to get through the grief, the pain, the trauma, and to also grow and expand and support people. So yeah, I took some time for myself, and until I was able to hold space again for people, and I'm able to do that now. And I have clients that are just being blown out of the water by their ability to reconnect with themselves and find what they actually want to do in their life. Like, I had just had my last call with, it was just 4-week client, and the transformation from the first day to now is like mind blowing. And she's like, you changed my whole life in 4 weeks. And I just guide people, and I educate, and I teach, and I hold the space, and I give them the space and get them to relearn how to connect back to their soul, their higher self, source, God, divine, whatever you call it.
Well, it's that inner light, right?
Exactly.
Hold the door, like, you know, when you, like you said, when you were going through your process, all of a sudden you started to see soul. Well, the door is wide open at that point. Like, you know, there's, and I don't know about you, but did you try and shut the door? Because I tried several times to shut the door, and I was like, yeah, there's still a crack.
I'm lucky enough that I feel like it only comes when I ask.
Oh.
Thank you, Jack's mom.
You know, like, it is one of those things where once you open the door, you're there. You're in this space. you're prepared. I don't know about you, but all these little intricate things that happen in life, they kind of tend to inspire us to find our purpose.
Exactly. Our pain is our purpose. The wound is the way. And it's so true. It is so true. Like I was paired up against someone I ran into just because I meet extraordinary people, that she had actually been very depressed her whole life, very like suicidal. And she ended up getting in a car accident and becoming paralyzed, and it changed her whole life. And she eventually learned to walk again. And she's like, I'm so glad that happened to me. She's like, it changed my whole life. It changed my whole perspective on life and any tragedies. And they don't have to be getting paralyzed or losing your daughter. It could be anything that is just life changing, that changes your whole perspective on life. It could be a simple meditation where you reconnect to your higher self and you're like, holy beep, like, why am I playing so small in my life? Like I can do anything the heck that I want, like anything. There is no reason why you can't do something. It's our own fear.
It's those limited belief systems.
Exactly. It's us. It's what's in our mind. And it's unlearning what people told us about ourselves that we've taken on as truth. And
so what is the one thing you unlearned that you took on as your truth that has created an open door for you to continue to inspire and flow into your soul mission and purpose?
To be honest, it is that I'm a rock star. Just kidding.
You actually are. So
yeah, I agree with that.
Keep that one.
But I grew up when I was like singing and stuff, and I always forgot the words. I loved singing. And
kind of in your family.
But I could never remember the words, and it really like made me have a hard time sharing because I always get off track and I always forget what I'm saying. But I know that my messages and gifts are needed in this world. And I actually was just journaling about it the other day, and I was like, why does my voice need to be shared so badly? Like I have this burning desire. Like this is years and years in the making. Like I knew I had this desire years ago, and it's just getting bigger and bigger. And it was like my channeled messages are the answers to my community's prayers. Like when people are like, I need something, you know, when you're scrolling and you're just down on yourself and you hear this inspired quote and you're like, oh my God, I'm taking action right now. I'm being that channel. I am allowing myself to be the channel, the guide, the mentor, the whoever you want me to be, to inspire you to get back and connect to yourself and know that there's so much more to this life than what's holding you back.
That's what I really learned. It was. Like I have all the, I've done all this training, and I always wanted, like, getting out of the box was the hardest thing for me because I always felt like I would fail somebody if I stepped outside the box. I have not lived in the box for a long time. I'm never going to live in the box ever again. But it's true. I have all these hats that you can bring forward in every situation, in every session that help you, listening to that channel to what their soul is saying and being able to provide that space is, I don't know about you, but it's unreal. It's just magic. Like there's no other word. Like there's so many, it's just freeing in a way.
It is.
Getting into that space can be hard, but once you're there, I don't know. I'm never going back. People people ask me what
I'm never going back either.
Like, I have no idea because they weren't going to happen until you get here, and then they'll know what the sessions look like. But that is one of the craziest things, the hardest lessons. And, for me, it was one of my biggest limiting beliefs was that I had to stay in the box in order to provide people with what they needed or how to get people where they needed to go. But, I broke the box down a while ago.
Yeah. And I'm just saying, take me wherever.
Yeah, and it's crazy how you always go. I don't know, always go to the right spot. Like,
I do every single time.
so now that you've gotten outside of your box, now that there's no more box, and you've discovered the flow of limitless and boundless, what's next for you? So you talk about sharing your voice. How are you being guided to share your voice?
Well,
Because
I'm currently, I'm doing, so sharing my voice through all my packages and stuff that I offer, obviously my coaching. I'm really, I just started writing a book. So I'm kind of like putting
you're
it
doing
all together. Yeah. I'm doing that. And I feel like there's so many things. And one of my main things that I can't get out of my head is having like a woman's circle. And I really want so many women together. And it's funny because growing up, I was never like a girl's girl. I was always very in my masculine, and makes sense because, healing and crying and all that stuff was, don't do
No,
that
well,
kind of
tears are
stuff.
not
I'd rather
allowed.
just stuff it all down till I have an
Pause you for a
emotional
second
breakdown for a whole year and I can't leave.
Well,
But now I'm like, I want everybody to feel like what I'm feeling. Like I've never felt so connected in my life. I've never felt so confident in my life. Like I do not care what people say. And if they do, I'm like, oh, thank you. Like, what is that triggering me? Oh my gosh. Like
I
that
know,
must
right?
be bringing up like something that's really like true for me. So I'm going to look at that like, thank you. Like I do not take anything personally anymore. And I'm really like able to step back and see like this whole world environment, everybody here is for me. And same with your life. Like I'm here for you. Like we're all just mirrors in this like video game of life, and
Video game,
like
I love
getting
it.
to the next level and the next level. Like even if you think you're failing, like you can never go back to the level you were before. Like maybe, when you can't hit the flag, but you go back. And then once you hit the flag and you keep going, then you go back to there. So you're like always growing.
Well, it's like, you think about it, like we may, we may relive our past because we get stuck there, but we're never actually the same person that actually endured the moment that created the past that is sitting with you. And when we start to look at it that way, all of a sudden the past is no longer haunting the present, and we can start to, de-evolve the connections that were keeping us in that space or unwinding it. But like you talk about getting into that place where you realize that the world is mirroring for you so that you can evolve and get to the next level. It's very true. There's so much going on, and the way the way we perceive it changes how we interact with it. And when it's happening to you, it's happening around you. You're all of a sudden sitting in the eye of the storm, and you're looking at the storm going, okay, what can I learn from you?
Exactly.
Shift who I am today, because who I am today is not going to be who I am tomorrow. Who I was yesterday is not who I am today. But how do I find that growth moment? And when I first started, I went to school for hypnotherapy, a lot of people would talk about how you had to be fully healed before you could ever help somebody. And that never really sat with me. I mean, you have to heal and you have to go through stuff. But I, to this day, step back and learn things about myself that I'm ready now to see that it is going to elevate who I am for the next group of people that I get to hang out with and get to help and get to, help find their path. Because there's something that is going to spark that connection, but only now is it ready to unfold itself.
Yeah.
So it's the constant delayering of this onion that creates such a beautiful lotus flower. Like it is really, and that's one of the things. Like I don't know about you, but I love finding things that are in the way for the next. Because
you're just like, whoa.
Yeah, like diving in. Some of it you're like, oh my God, really? That was the thing? But some of it you're like, yeah, that makes sense. But there's so much out there, and looking at triggers as opportunities is really like, it's a life-changing perspective.
It totally is.
So
And
what is one of the triggers coming up for you right now that is helping you shift into your next part of your
I think my biggest one right now, and I don't know if it, maybe, I guess it could be a trigger, but because I'm in a coaching class right now and I'm just starting off my business, really. Like I'm really like ready to do it. I'm ready to serve, and seeing other people's amazing content and feeling like, I don't know how to show up. Like I could sit here and chat your ear off all stinking day long, but make me make a TikTok, I feel very out of body and very awkward and weird. And it's like this weird disconnect.
right?
Like what I show up on social media on my stories is not what I'm like in real life. And I'm like, oh, that's the only thing. But I feel like also inspired, like maybe I just need to learn how to tell stories or whatever it is. But I feel like that's
Yeah.
really my only thing right now, is wanting to know and grow about how to essentially help more people by having good content.
Well, I totally get the TikTok thing. So I hated being on TikTok. Yes, you guys can hear me on TikTok. And if you're here, come to the journey on YouTube and hear the other side of this conversation, because Jenny Adams is amazing. But I was terrified, and it made me so awkward. I'd be like, I can't post that. And I would post it. And people would send me messages that knew me and that I were comfortable being like, hey, so we know you, and that ain't you. You need a story.
Exactly. That's why I'm like, you should do lives or something.
This is what it is. Actually doing lives
Yeah.
are what helped me get to a place on TikTok, TikTok, where I felt comfortable posting.
Yeah.
Like, because you're always like, well, if I say that, am I going to offend? You get into this whole thing, and then you get awkward, and you're looking at the camera, and you're like,
and then you overthink it, and it's just bad. Yeah, that's what happens to me.
Erase it. So I made a rule,
and then I don't post anything. So
yeah, TikTok rule is you can't redo it. You just have to post it as is. Yeah. And yeah, there's going to be bloopers, and there are bloopers. You guys have all seen them where I'm like, I'm tongue-tied. But I just post it. And it's hilarious. So those are the ones that actually got the most amount of views are my bloopers.
Yeah. But the stuff I want to say is like weird meditations I had, and like they don't probably even make sense to anybody.
I talk about it all. It's fun. You know what? We love this. This is the whole thing. Is because not everybody's at the same place, but you being there helps them get there. So sharing those stories, because you never know, somebody might be having that experience and they're like, oh, that's what's happening. So I had that the other day, girl. Somebody was like, that means that. I'm like, yeah, it does. Like, oh, really? I didn't know. So they've been having these cool experiences with light beings and had no idea because they interpreted it differently. So
yeah,
share it now.
But I feel like that's mostly my. Does that count as a trigger, or is it more just of like, oh, I wish I?
Yeah, it is a trigger because it's triggering something. So when you think about that trigger, what emotion is attached to that trigger? What outcome is attached to that? What past belief system is attached to that?
But you know what? Since I've been having that, I've been actually creating. I'm actually creating this freebie, which ties into my content thing, because I'm sometimes scattery brain. I'm very neurodivergent. Okay. So I'm very weird and when I'm not channeling or having talking discussions like this. And so I created this new morning ritual practice because I always get up, I do the same thing every day. And then I do this higher self journaling. But this week and last week, I started implementing a time blocking. I don't know if you've heard of that. Okay. Freaking game changer. If you have like issues with staying on track and just like sitting and not doing anything like I do, like what is it? Delay. I forget what it's called. The ADHD thing. So I started time blocking, but I'm also creating it to add Because if I don't know that I need to move my body, if I don't write it down in my time thing, it's not coming. Because I've noticed, like I was doing a craft fair because I crochet stuff, and my whole life, besides crocheting for 3 weeks leading up to this fair, was non-existent. So I'm like, okay, this can't happen. Like everything around me is falling apart because I'm just so hyper focused on this. So I started doing the time blocking, but I'm also putting in like, how can I love my body today? How can I love, nourish my body? How can I do this to myself? How can I give myself this? So it's like all our senses. How can I take care of myself while also doing the things that I need to do? Because a lot of the time, day to day, we're like, okay, we need to work out, not because it's helping my bones and my muscles and burning off the gunk. It's because it's just what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to do this, right? This, and this because I'm just supposed to do it, and not really tying like this sacred special time, this connection that you're having with yourself, this special emotional need of touch. If you give yourself a nice hot oil massage or a hair massage, like these are essential things that we need in our life, and being able to put those in to our day to day as these sacred times. And I feel like it's such a beautiful thing, reconnecting to ourselves. So
well, you give yourself permission, right? Permission to
exactly
honor who you are and celebrate, and that's game changing.
Yeah, right? And I never did that before.
Ooh.
I never even thought.
We didn't have time because we have these lives that were like.
Well, you have time. If you time block, you have so much time. Like
it's almost
time
scary,
is like I was like, how did like. I get up at 6:15. I never used to get up at 6:15. I was like more of like a get up right as soon as the alarm, rush, yell at my kids to like get ready. And it was just like, it was yucky. I didn't like it. So I'm like, I'm doing this morning routine. I slowly started transitioning my way to get up earlier, but it also helps me transition my nighttime routine. So instead of staying up really late, okay, well, I know I'm having this beautiful morning practice and I want to be able to show up for it. And I have to start winding down. So it's like ends up playing in your nighttime routine. So I slowly made my way up to 6:15 now. And I love it. I get up, I make the lunches, I feed my dogs, I sit down, I have my jasmine tea in the morning because I used to drink coffee, but I really like just like a clear beverage. And I journal, and then I do my time blocking. And then now I can even work out in the morning. Like before, that wasn't a possibility because it just was like yes, exactly. But in my mind, I was thinking, oh my God, I have only this much time. And then I would waste it to go drive my kids to school by sitting on my phone when I could have been doing this or that. But if it was just scheduled.
I actually time block my time on TikTok and other social media. I actually have a slot, and I'm like, okay, this is your time.
Yeah.
And that stops my, 2 hours going missing in a day. But I also have a board. And one day I'm going to show everybody my board, but it's different colored Post-it notes.
Yes.
And on my card is everything that, I want to get accomplished. If it's not on there, it's really interesting because then I'll lose track of it. And
exactly.
My board, I look at it in the day, I'm like, okay, how many of these things am I going to accomplish today? And I set my number, and that was like my time blocking is I know, and then I pull them off, and you become inhuman almost when you start to time block and you start to organize it, because all of a sudden you have an 8-hour day can be so productive, or a 6-hour day, or a 5-hour day. It just all depends on what you want. It was
crazy. Like, what did I get done before like 9? I'd like did 2 loads of laundry, worked out, journaled, cleaned everything, dropped Parker off, ate breakfast, did this, did that. And I think I cleaned and vacuumed, and I'm like, how is this even possible? Before I would have just had time to sip my coffee until it was 9 when I said that's when I'm working out.
Yeah, because I do the same thing with my workouts. It's morning time because that gets my day. That shifts my day when I work out in the morning. So we're coming up to an hour here. We're getting close, and because I'm gonna, poke you till you come back, kind of thing.
Okay.
If you could leave everyone who's here today, and everybody who's going to see and listen to this podcast, with one message that helps you get from where you were to where you are today, what would that message be?
The one thing I would have to say is you just have to do it. Like, you literally have to do the things even if you don't want to. And at first, sometimes it really sucks and it's uncomfortable and it feels weird in your body, and you have to let go of things that you're using, that you're holding on to, that are keeping you tethered to this old life. If you have that one moment where you're like, I want more than this, then that is your opportunity to do it. Because you don't know you're in this loop until that one day where you have that, I want more. And you need to take that bait and just run and do whatever the heck you can to be a better version of yourselves. Right? Like, I feel like you don't know you're not doing well until you have that, oh my gosh, this sucks. And I don't want to feel this anymore. And I remember that feeling. I just came to you because I was a heavy smoker, and
I remember this. Yeah.
I was so sick after Sadie died because I just literally was stuck in fight or flight, like after the 6 months, and I couldn't quit smoking. I tried and tried and tried and tried and tried. But and I actually ended up, let's go back to the story. So I was sitting outside in the pouring rain under my little ease drop thingy, sitting on a bucket in my house coat after my third black coffee because intermittent fasting, so I didn't gain weight, smoking probably like my fourth or fifth cigarette in the morning. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Like, I hate what I'm feeling right now. And I'm not allowing this to be my life. And I quit smoking the next day, or actually, I think it was that day. And I quit drinking that day. And it's almost been 2 years. And I was like, I am finding healthy ways to feel, hear, see, and do life. Like, I'm sick of smoking to regulate my nervous system. How about practice some body yantra and breathing techniques, or stepping away and journaling? But that's what I was using. And I was drinking to relax and do this and that. But how about a meditation or a hot bath or a body massage? So there's other alternatives that I started learning along my journey when I hit that one point of, what the hell are you doing?
I think we all have that point, right? Where I always find that that's the point where your life just changed because you decided it's changing.
Exactly. And if you feel that, that's the time that you need to take action. Because
you're ready to. And that's the thing. You'll be ready when you're ready, and you're not when you're not. And
exactly.
Some things. And there's not, like, that the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
Yeah.
I think that applies to every single situation, every human as well. It's not just our animals, because
100%.
I've seen people sit at my door and be like, and I'm like, okay, well, I will see you when you're ready, kind of thing. So it's
exactly.
True. I'm that way too.
Me too. Still the same. It has to click, right?
I will be sharing my rock bottom moment sooner than later. So thank you for that. That's a beautiful message. Get her, just do it. Like, really. Even if it doesn't end up where you thought it was going to take you, it's going to take you where you were meant to be.
Absolutely. Like, you can't even do it wrong.
There's speed bumps along the way, guys. There always is. Speed bumps are a part of our process, but they're only speed bumps. They may look like mountains. They may look like you will never climb to the top of them, but you will, and you'll overcome them. And from there, that speed bump is going to be your adversity to opportunity, and it will create more opportunities for you. So thank you, Jenny. You got it. Before we end the show, go ahead and let everybody know how they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at Jenny Rooted Goddess. And I do have a TikTok, but you know.
What is the name of the
Oh,
TikTok?
sorry. It's the same. Jenny Rooted Goddess.
All right, so Jenny Rooted Goddess, both on Instagram and TikTok. So give her a like, give her a follow.
Yes, I would appreciate that.
Because I watch her TikToks, I do spy on her, and I do watch.
Come be a part of my community.
And
I'm here to help women reconnect with themselves. Mm-hmm.
I know.
I'm so ready for women to just love themselves and not need the reassurance from anybody about how worthy they are.
I got ideas. I know how we're like, well, we were talking, but I got some different ideas too that have just come up in my head while we're on the show, because that's the way my brain works.
Yes, girl,
Analyze we go. So, all right, guys, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your energy, Jenny. You're not getting a choice. You're coming back on the show.
Okay, I would love to. Let's talk about lots of stuff.
We got stuff. It's happening. So, guys, coming up next week, we have Mo coming back on the show. Maureen Robinson. She's coming back, and we're gonna talk about tinctures, you guys. Next Wednesday, I have asked Mo to come up with a simple recipe, because I need simple right now, because I go to Maureen for my stuff, but I now live in Vernon most of the time, so I don't have her down the road anymore. So I got to learn how to make myself. So next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, it'll be 9 o'clock Central Standard Time and 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So that Mo's coming on. Jenny, we're setting another date. So guys, I will let you know with our next date. Hopefully the week after. Just nice clean. Yes, that's how we do it, guys. This is how So thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your love and support, guys, on all aspects. Those of you on TikTok, thank you for joining us. Next time, come join the journey. And I will see you guys Monday meditation. That's right. Meditation Monday is Monday night, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I got this now. It's happening. It's all in my brain now. So guys, have a great night, and I will talk to you soon. Cheers, guys.
Bye.